Okay. So welcome everyone. I think we have quite a few people in the chat and some more joining us. So welcome everyone to our number 14 Stammtisch session. So for those who are new, this is my usual drill to welcome everyone. So Quantum London, first of all, is a community of people, mainly professionals, who are willing to understand a bit more about the implications of quantum computing for their businesses. So it's a group of peers. We're all here in this journey together, trying to understand more. And there are no right or wrong questions. So this is a safe space to ask those questions that Quora cannot answer. And in terms of the format for tonight, for those who have been here before, you will know already. For those who are new, it's very much a conversation. So there is no set agenda. We have a couple of topics we'll bring to the table, but it's very much for the community to get together, discuss maybe the latest development, what has been in the news recently, discuss also maybe what we have heard of in our last event last week. So very much conversational and community event to bring people together and answer some questions together. It's our tradition to start with a brief round of introduction. So I will try my best to go through the room and not to forget anyone or to ask the same people to introduce themselves twice. But I think the first one I have on my list is Amira. I don't know, Amira, do you want to tell us in 30 seconds if you what brings you here and what keeps you busy?
Yeah, sure. So my interest is on quantum cybersecurity. So basically where quantum computing, how it affects information security and networking.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Amin Karamlu. Feel free to give us 30 seconds about yourself.
Hi. Yeah, so I'm a PhD student at Oxford. I work on the theoretical side of quantum computing, and I'm also part of this IBM team where we work on community building and education related to quantum computing.
Okay.
So I'm very interested in.
And I think you have a few things for us to share later. Am I correct? No.
Well, I was just going to give an informal overview of what we do at IBM.
Okay, fantastic. But, yeah, so you exchanged some emails with Paolo. I wanted to make sure it was you.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you. Thank you. Fantastic. Anna, welcome. You need to know introductions, but for a good measure. Do you want to introduce yourself, Anna?
Hi, everyone. I'm Anna, and I help run Quantum London alongside Em and Paolo. I work in the insurance industry as a data scientist, and I'm particularly interested in the cybersecurity aspects as well. But of course, here at Quantum London, we look at all different business implications of quantum, and looking forward to meeting some new people today.
Thank you very much. Next one on the list is Angel. Angel, welcome.
Yes. Hello, this is Angel Javier. I'm a banker and a strategist running my own consulting firm. I'm very interested in understanding more about the potential applications in financial services industry of quantum.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Anuj?
Yeah, hi. This is Anuj here. So I'm based in India, and my area of interest within quantum technologies is actually quantum machine learning and optimization. Along with that, the domain I'm actually focused on is quantum finance. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. I think we have Bamborde, but he's having some chat connection issues. So please feel free to do your intro in the chat. Thank you. He's a mathematician. Mathematician training as co-founder at Zyco Group, company engaged in deep tech commercialization, exploration, and quantum computing in particular. Fascinating, thank you. He's also a tutor from quantumformalism.com, an initiative by Zyco exposing advanced mathematical topics and groups and professionals. That's very fascinating. Feel free to tell us a bit more in the chat if you want, or maybe try your luck with your connection and come on screen or with your voice to tell us a bit more later. Berend, welcome.
Hi everyone, I'm Berend. I'm a medical doctor and I have a strong interest in quantum computing because I strongly believe there will be very interesting medical applications in the future. I hope I find like-minded people. It's currently quite difficult sort of to see where it might be going. I think medicine is still a bit underrepresented in quantum computing, although there are already some applications like I think genomics could be an interesting area, but also quantum machine learning. So I'm pretty sure there will be interesting applications. I'm hope to find like-minded people. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you. I hope you are in the right place then. So Eric, welcome.
Hi, my name is Eric. My first time at this group, it was recommended from someone very strongly to join. My background is 25 years or so doing different things in infrastructure technology on the classical computing side, most of that on the enterprise IT side, some more recently on the marketing side. And I am interested in trying to get a look over the horizon for how quantum information science is going to affect organizations, their enterprise architectures, and their operating models.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. And next one, I think is Gautam.
Hello, sir, am I audible? Hello.
Yeah, welcome.
Okay, namaste to all of you. I am Gautam Devasi and I am new in this field. I know some basic about this field and I want to implement my programming skills in this field. So that is why I am here. Because I know that this field have an ability to dominate this world. So that is why I'm here.
Okay, thank you very much. Gunther?
Yeah, hi guys. I'm Günther from Hamburg. I'm very much interested in quantum computing and I'm very much interested in error correction in quantum. It's a big thing, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. Ines?
Hi, everyone. So my name is Ines. I'm based in Germany. My background is actually astrophysics, but I'm currently an astronomy and quantum application specialist for a company called Under Technology. And yeah, I'm joining the group also for the first time. And I'm just interested to learn more about quantum computing and just looking forward to a good discussion. So hi, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks. Next, we have a regular of the community and the Stammtisch as well, Jim.
Hi.
Hello.
Good to see you. Yeah, I'm Jim Walker. I'm a quantum engineer. I help build quantum computers, and I actually work at the kind of the low level of the quantum computers on the qubits and quantum operations. And I'm here to be available to people and to help promote quantum computing, and they really work well. So,
thank you. Thanks. I must say, Jim, for those who have been here before, he does a great job in helping answer some of the trickiest questions. So your presence is always more than welcome. Thank you for being here tonight, and nice to see you again. Next one, I think I have Lorraine.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lorraine Titsmachi. I'm joining for the first time from Zimbabwe. I'm the One Quantum Zimbabwe president. So I'm interested in this space and trying to get to learn more and seeing how other countries are developing in this space.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. And if you don't mind, maybe later you can tell us a bit more about One Quantum. If that's okay with you. Lorraine? We lost Lorraine, I think. Okay.
Yeah, sure, sorry.
Oh, Paul, yeah. But I will come back to you, Chris, to share also what other communities are doing. And I know One Quantum is doing some fantastic things. So fantastic, thank you. Another regular of this of the community. So Manan.
Yes, hello. How are you all doing? My name is Manan. So I'm joining these meetings regularly now, and I'm really enjoying these. So I'm working at Dell currently, and I look forward to working in quantum very soon. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Mike H.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mike. I work in the financial industry in Manhattan. And I have been trying to teach and take courses about quantum computing. I'm an electrical engineer, so I have physics background and math background. And I just find it fascinating, and I want to learn and teach it. So yeah, that's all.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks for being here. And I forgot to say this before, but feel free to use the chat to commingle, network, share your LinkedIn profiles, make new connections. That's one of the reasons we do have the chat. So feel free to use it. Next one, another person who might need no presentations, but for good measures, Paolo.
Oh, hi, Em. I wasn't expecting you to come to me yet. So, welcome everyone. Really sorry to join late. I've got a really good excuse, but it would be unfair to blame my daughter for my tardiness. So, apologies, everyone. So yeah, look, this is fantastic to have so many of you join us back and some new names and hopefully faces. Please do switch on your camera if you're happy and able to do so. It does really help build the community even more if we can see each other a bit. I've, as Em may well have said at the start, I've been part of Quantum London from the beginning. It's been a couple of years now, and I think it was fantastic. I was in a conversation today with someone in New York planning a conference for the back end of this year, and we were talking about how the sort of examples of what quantum computing could be used for has gone from a couple of years ago where we were really struggling to come up with anything, and even where we could, it was theoretical, to lots of stuff that's really happening. And the one he pulled out, and some of you may have seen this in the press recently, and it sounds so hyper niche, but it's very interesting, is one of the car companies is apparently using quantum computing to optimize the way they apply paint to their cars. So I haven't had a chance to actually understand what they're doing from that point of view, but essentially it's an optimization challenge, one that they feel they have made a step forward in some way through quantum computing. And if that proves to be true, then that's a great example of how something that sounds so mundane does have some business value. And we will be extrapolating off that for the next 2, 5, 10 years. So delighted to be here. Really looking forward to hearing from you all this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got a couple more people to go through, and then we can move into the actual conversation. Next one is Shida. Welcome.
Yes. Can you see me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I'm Shada. I recently finished my master in computer science and computing technologies, and my final project was about a mathematical model in quantum computing. I am really interested in about the field of quantum computing, and I'm here to learn more.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next one is Wasim. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Wasim, based in the UK. I'm an engineer by profession, and mostly interested in the QML applications in the world of investment markets and finance, and curious to see if quantum computing can make a real quick-rich scheme or not. But this is my first meetup and the first conversation about quantum computing, so I just know very basics about it.
Fantastic. So welcome. Hope we can help you clarify. We are all in this journey together, but hopefully you will find some answers here. And last but not least, we got Youssef. welcome yourself.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me well? Yeah. Yeah, I'm joining from München in Germany. And I work on quantum machine learning algorithms. And I'm also part of a French association called Quantix, which also organize meetups and webinars in quantum. So we organized one, we started this year. We organized one in March. So it was a hackathon in Paris in Quantonation. Quantonation is an organization that, like VC, that finance quantum companies around the world, in Europe and also in North America. And we all organize also a new quantum hackathon, big quantum hackathon in October, this October. And you are welcome to follow us. And yeah, thank you
very much. So as for you yourself, but apologies, for everyone, if you have links about your activities, your companies, quantum related, feel free to use the chat to share if something.
Definitely on that quantum hackathon, please do put in the details if it's still open to other people to join, and we can share that in the newsletter.
Yeah, sure. So the inscription unfortunately are closed. We have all the teams. We have one technical phase and one business phase. They are all booked. But for the next one, we'll be sure to make it the publication for everyone to join. It's in France, so so be aware of that. But yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. But again, for everyone else, you know, if you've got stuff to share or you want, or like us to give visibility, use the chat now, and we'll make sure we give relevant information and some visibility. Paolo, I don't know what you had in mind. I was thinking maybe we could start. There's a number of people who want to introduce themselves. I promised I will have gone back to them for some additional information. So the first one is Bamborde. You mentioned you wanted to give us a bit more background about the quantum formalisms and the Psycho group. I know your connection is not great, but we can give it a try. If not, working we'll do next time, but let's give it a try. Bamborde? No? Okay. Then I will go back to, oh yes, I see you in the chat. You want to give it a try and tell us a bit more about your activities with quantum formalisms in particular? No? Okay, seems like there's some connection problem there. So I will go back to Lorraine. You mentioned one quantum. I think there may be something interesting there for to share. You want to tell us a bit more about one quantum, Lorraine?
Oh, hi. Thank you. So One Quantum is a global organization, but it has, to help spread out its work, it has created local chapters such that they have chapters in Zimbabwe whereby Zimbabweans can meet and plan all things quantum as Zimbabweans. South Africans can also meet, so there are different chapters, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Canada, still growing, but we also have women in quantum and startup. So mainly we lean on 4 pillars, which are community, where we meet up, we try to get people connected in the space. We also have mentoring. We have a mentorship program that is ongoing at the moment, where people sign up and then there are volunteers in the quantum space who can mentor other people who would want to grow either career-wise or in their paths. Maybe they want to change their careers in quantum and they want help. Mentors can help them with that. We also help with careers. We have a database where we keep people's resumes. So We could help you find a job in quantum if you want to change or you're new to the space. There are some people who have found jobs through our careers platform, and we also have projects. So we mainly make use of the StrangeWorks platform, where we have projects that are maybe making use of Grover's algorithm, for example, just experimenting with it, seeing how best to use it to solve real life problems. So I'm a chapter president for Zimbabwe. So I'm working mainly in Zimbabwe and hoping to grow quantum in Zimbabwe.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. And I see Bamborde has come on screen, so maybe he's ready to share. We were curious to know a bit more about quantumformalism.com, and also, especially designed for those with intention of breaking into the quantum computing industry. You want to tell us a bit more about that? No, back to connection issues then. Okay, no worries. So let's move on swiftly to Amin. I think you also had a few things you wanted to share with us.
Go in a specified direction or manner. Change.
Yeah, let me just turn on my camera.
Thank you.
Okay. So I mentioned this briefly. I work part-time for a team at IBM. It's called the Quantum Education and Community Team. And this is a team that's spread out over multiple continents, really. We're not a huge team, but there's about 25 of us across the world or so. Lots of them part-time, like myself. We're doing PhDs or masters or some sort of university degree related to quantum computing. And the goal of this team really is to create tools and educational materials that will help anyone who's interested to not just learn about quantum computing, but also hopefully contribute to its development. And we have, so far released lots of material to this end. So perhaps the most noteworthy is the online Qiskit textbook. So Qiskit is IBM's quantum programming language. And there's an interactive textbook online where you can go and start from the very basics with very limited mathematical prerequisites and learn about quantum computing and actually implement some code and even have that code run on a real quantum computer. Because IBM also, they employ lots of physicists in other parts of the company that build quantum computers. So you can run your code on some of these real devices. Other than that, I can tell you some more about what we do, and people please feel free to interrupt me with questions, I guess, as I'm going along, or tell me to shut up if I'm taking too long. So we've had initiatives where we worked with online or in-person courses that are targeted, for instance, at high schoolers or people who have a STEM background but aren't necessarily familiar with quantum computing, to teach them about quantum computation. Last year, for instance, we had an initiative that was in partnership with the coding school. And we delivered an online course to thousands of students. And this was really mainly aimed at high school students. So you might think that quantum computing, it sounds something that's too complicated for high schoolers to learn. But it turns out if you spend a few hours a week for a couple of months teaching them some linear algebra, they really have all the bits and pieces in place. So over the course of a year, we managed to teach these high schoolers the basics of quantum computing and even get them to write some code with Qiskit that ran on real quantum computers, like I said. And we're also interested in supporting and helping to grow communities just like this one. So one of the reasons I'm here is that we're currently particularly interested in supporting communities in the UK, because there's a lot of quantum computing related activities in the UK. And we'd like to be more involved.
Thank you. So, I mean, if there are any websites, material, or things you can share, please do so in the chat so we can also then circulate offline after the call.
Yes. Yeah, I can do that.
That would be fantastic. I mean, and I think Anna, I don't know if you're still, yeah, you're there. Do you want to just spend 2 minutes talking about what we've done in terms of the Quantum London coding community, sort of over the last few, I guess, well, almost the whole last year, and because then we can think about how that might fit in with what Amin's saying, because, you know, I think it would be fantastic to have that kind of input to what we've done.
Yeah, definitely. So thanks, Amin. So we've been running a group run quantum computing coding session. So it's members of Quantum London, in particular Anuj, who's here, been teaching everybody else and going through the Qiskit textbook and sort of solving problems together. So we were doing that for, as Paolo mentioned, most of sort of a good part of the year. And it was really successful. I think, you know, the Qiskit textbook, the ability to sort of practice your code within the textbooks itself, and the fact that it was open source was incredibly useful for all of us. And then members of the group started to branch off and take on some project work together. There was a sort of quantum and finance project going on. But yeah, I think it definitely, you know, ties in very well with what you're saying. I don't know if Anuj, you want to maybe make any comment on how you think those were going, or any sort of updates on where you've gotten personally with the coding part of things, because I know you have has a lot of developments on your side.
Yeah, hi, thanks. So I think, yeah, I agree. Like we actually created a cohort for the quantum finance. Actually, people who are actually interested in mainly quantum finance, and with our learning and understanding, whatever we did, we explored certain actually white papers and implementing the same problems which are there already, I think, available on portal. But I think that helped us, like whatever we got inputs from the textbook, I think that helped us to go in the right direction, I would say, though it was still in the still in the initial stage, but we did actually implemented few of the algorithms like quantum amplitude estimation. There are many actually other things also, problems which we were actually working on. So I would say that this particular textbook, it is a quite not only talking about with regards to this particular forum, but it is, I think, universally accepted fact that even if you actually talk about there is somebody who's actually at the beginning stage, they start with first of all Qiskit framework, and within Qiskit framework, I think Qiskit textbook is the one of the great initiative, and like the way they actually have started also translating into the regional languages. I think that is a very great initiative, and that has actually received attention and acknowledgement from many regions. You know, like of the Asian subcontinent itself, I think there are many languages that they have actually introduced, and same is happening in the European languages also. They have actually translated all that textbook and other documentation tutorials into. So that is, I think, a very good initiative and a starting point for anyone. Like as already Amin mentioned, no need of actually having a strong background in mathematics, or for that, say, in physics, which is a little bit intimidating for many of people who are actually starting with quantum computing. So yes, textbook, yes, it helped us also, I think, in the same manner.
Fantastic, thanks, Anna and Anuj. I think so. Therefore, you know, I mean, where you have ideas from what you've seen in terms of other groups, it'll be fantastic to combine the sort of the experience and the interest we've had over the past 12 months with any ideas you've got, because, you know, whilst the heart of Quantum London is the desire to tackle the question of, you know, what is the business impact of quantum computing, it's become very clear that different people approach that question in different ways. And a number of the community have felt that actually spending some of their spare time really digging into how one codes and programs a quantum computer is a really valuable way for them to be able to better understand what it's all about, and ultimately to be able to sort of articulate that and share that with people. Others completely understandably want to stay a million miles away from that and say, you know, no, I'm a business person. I understand the impact in a very different way, and that's great. And you know, any community, of course, is diverse in its mix of members. So really looking forward to re-energizing the coding side for those people who are interested. For those who think, hang on, this is crazy, I'm talking to people who are coding quantum computers, don't worry. There's plenty of us, myself included, who haven't tried to follow the course yet. So so there's a good mix of us here. On the subject of community, Anna, I wondered, did you want to just take 2 minutes on the Entangled community session that took place in London last week? I think it was probably the first in-person quantum discussion, possibly for 18 months in the UK, or certainly one of the first.
Yeah, so it was really great to finally be able to see some of the faces we regularly see. Of course, would have loved to see everyone, but not possible, limited by geography. It was a great session. There was quite a mix of people there, as we see in our groups, in our Stammtisch. There were people who are working for different quantum computing companies. So there were 2 individuals from Fujitsu, for example, who came along. There were a few quantum recruiters there. And then there were also people on the business side, similar to us here, who are trying to understand the business applications of quantum computing. There were people who had no idea what it was. They'd seen it on Eventbrite and wanted to know what it is about. And it's always really great to see those people come to something like this as well. It was a really great atmosphere. We chatted about all different things. It started with quantum, diverted into many different branches and topics, and people bringing all sorts of stories with them. So it was great. It was a great atmosphere and great to see everybody. What did you think, Paolo, of the session?
Yes, I'd agree. I mean, I saw a lot of similarity between what I saw in the world of fintech and insurtech maybe 7 or 8 years ago. And you know, for some of you will have the luxury of not having been in the business world 7 or 8 years ago, but you know, those of us who were in that sort of period following from the financial crisis, when actually we were sort of going through a new wave of technology starting to really make a difference, and lots of grassroots conversations such as the ones we had here. You know, it predated Zoom and Teams and things, and it was almost all face to face. And you know, we would get together in the backs of bars, or ultimately sort of in meeting rooms in companies and things, to have people presenting on what they were doing in terms of sort of the latest fintech idea. And it all started with just interested people casually talking in bars and places. And London has a huge advantage. Not only is London a sort of just clearly a big city, but also it's the natural center of the UK. So if anything is sort of happening in the finance and tech space, it always seems to gravitate towards London. Now, you know, a lot of you are in other countries where it may not be so obvious sort of where these things start. So, you know, I'd encourage you to keep an eye out, because as and when the world gets back to some semblance of normality and you can go and start to meet people, absolutely, it would be fantastic if you are able to complement these sort of online discussions where we have the luxury of having people from Argentina, from Germany, from Italy, from London, all on the same call. But, you know, getting together with people, you know, whether it's in Barcelona or in Sarajevo or in Boston, is fantastic to really get the feel that you're being part of something new that's developing. Sorry, I got a bit excited there. Right, so what I want to do is just go around. Is there anything on people's mind? You know, have they read something in the press? Have they been on a webinar? Is there something that you'd like to share with everyone else in terms of what's really starting to get your attention at the moment? And I'm really good at just being silent while I wait for people to fill the gap. So, you know, I'll just sit here smiling for the next 3 minutes whilst people build up the courage. If you don't want to speak it out, feel free just to type a prompt into the chat.
I do have a question, actually. I mean, some might help us figure it out. It's the same as I asked the other day during our webinar. It's around this triple entanglement. It's very fascinating. I still need to get my head around it, but seems like it has a potential to bring quantum computing closer. What I've read is very much about quantum security, but also the error correction. It seems like there is some potential application with error correction, which we all know is one of the current limitations that is not allowing quantum computers to scale. I'm wondering if anyone has any views or can explain it, try to explain it to us. And there was someone in the introductions who said it was error correction, interested in error correction. So maybe a person could shed some light.
You've completely hampered my attempts to persuade people this is a business impact focused forum. But given it's an incredibly relevant question, because ultimately I think we all know that the not just the biggest question on our mind, but frankly the biggest risk from a business engagement point of view is is the speed to get to decent quality quantum computers that can do something useful. Because I think we all know if we're all getting excited now and we still don't have them in 5 or 10 years, then people's excitement will of course have waned. So whilst it's a very deep technical topic, it is absolutely of importance. So I wasn't here at the beginning, so I'm not sure who the person who mentioned they might know that topic is. Is anyone brave enough to volunteer to cover the topic of what triple entanglement means? You're going to have to pick another topic, Em. Can't you pick something nice and mundane, like how Volkswagen's optimizing?
Yeah,
traffic,
exactly. That was my next one.
Actually. Yeah.
That was my next one.
I will talk about, this is Jim, and I will talk about error correction a bit, just to knock that off. I've seen that run quite a bit on our quantum computers, and it's a very important area. The neat thing in our quantum computers, we're operating at about 10 qubits, for example, but we found, and CQC and us have published papers on it, but we've been able to, we've had very good success with small numbers of qubits to be used for correction purposes of a logical qubit. Just for people that aren't familiar with the the core concepts of quantum error correction, you might have many or some physical qubits. What you're trying to do with quantum error correction is establish logical qubits, and logical qubits are perfect. In other words, or as close to perfect as you can get, where you might use other qubits to achieve a logical qubit. And then the idea would be that logical qubits don't have any error in them. They're perfect, essentially. So when you hear quantum error correction, that's the goal of it, is to get rid of the error completely, eventually, and establish logical qubits so that all the qubits are perfect, so that the data that you get off of them is perfect, or in other words, you don't have to correct for errors in the qubit. That's a very important core concept with quantum error correction. Now, we have a team of theoretical physicists, a team of atomic physicists, experimentalists, etc. So there's a lot of details in that statement and so on. But at a layman's perspective, my perspective, I basically think of it in those terms, that quantum error correctionist achieves logical qubits, which now I can use for calculations that are essentially giving you the best results, because it's already been corrected for the errors and so on. But I've seen numbers where people put out, you need 1,000 qubits to have one logical qubit, for example, and that's been that's being thrown around a lot in the superconducting qubit architectures and so on by Google and others. But we're not. We're with our quantum computers, with ion trap based quantum computers, we're already able to achieve that with maybe 6 qubits to get one, or even less in some cases. So you don't need 1,000 qubits to have a logical qubit, for example. So it's important. It's very, very important for people to understand that we're able to achieve these things today. In other words, I can see it happen literally every day. Like, I can look at my computer and see it. It's already happening in front of me, basically. Anyway, I just want to point out those kind of core aspects of quantum error correction.
Fantastic, thank you, Jim. And I think that's really helpful. And one of the points I would encourage everyone on this in this meeting, if you don't understand this this concept of different type of qubits, I think it's one to get your head around. I mean, in some ways, Jim's explanation is the best I've heard for a while. So reflect on that. But ultimately, even just a year ago when this was all starting out, everyone was sort of quite comfortable just talking about the number of qubits and how they were getting bigger. But the sort of understanding of crudely speaking, a good qubit versus a less good qubit is increasingly important. And again, if you're coming from a business point of view, at one level you don't need to understand this, but at the other level you need to be clear enough with the language, because you've got people out there talking about million qubit machines, but actually they don't mean a million usable qubits and such like. So I encourage you to balance that understanding enough technically to be able to engage in the detail. Inez has left. Thanks. And other point in the chat, Andrew's mentioning Twickenham. So I don't know if you're all in the chat, but there is a major event in Twickenham. It's next week, isn't it? Next Tuesday or Wednesday. It's next Tuesday. I don't know who else is there. Andrew's mentioned he is. But it would be great if anyone else is there. Please do drop your name in. I know going to an event like that, first sort of big in-person event for a year and a half, would be slightly intimidating for everyone. So clearly, if they happen to already know some friendly faces again, that would be great. The aim of the event in Twickenham, for those of you who aren't aware, there's an organisation called Quantum.tech that organises very large, very impressive conferences on all aspects of quantum technology. Obviously, quantum computing is the major one. Berend, if Andrew's got a link, maybe he can share it. Otherwise, I'll look for one. I suspect the Tuesday session is already full, but they are doing they're doing some virtual sessions on Tuesday, and then they've got another virtual event. I can't remember if it's the end of next week or the week after. Anna's also going to be there. And the final point in the chat, I think that was new. I think Honeywell does the best error correction. Yes. So again, there's that point there that IBM, Honeywell, etc., all approaching error correction in different ways. So we've always been very keen here at Quantum London to say, from a business point of view, we don't need to worry about that question of underlying hardware, because essentially the business usage of the technology should be able to sit a level above, with a sort of an abstraction through software, etc., saving any of you who are trying to solve business problems from worrying about what's happening deep down in the underlying technology. And certainly in a few years' time, that will be true. But at the moment, keeping a track of how the different technologies is developing is very relevant. Good. Thank you, Andrew, for sharing that link. What I maybe wanted to ask the question I asked before in a different way, and that's in terms of use cases. Has anyone seen in the news or in discussions on other webinars any other interesting use cases recently that they'd like to share?
So yeah, hi, Paolo. Yes, so sorry, not a use case, but a interesting actually initiative which is there from IBM. So where they have actually came up a joint initiative with AWS and Microsoft, where they're actually working on open Quasm 3. Okay, and this particular initiative will actually help us to, like, we have a different framework, like Microsoft has that Q hash and AWS uses their own this particular framework. So there is this open Quasm is something underlying assembly language where all this particular like Qiskit is compatible with. So they are trying to come up with this open Quasm initiative, which is actually to make it even because the cloud model is already in use. So even if some of the if you want to have a compatibility of the Qiskit with the underlying different XP platform, like as Jim was explaining with the Honeywell, like CQ is CQC is also having a framework. It is a different actually direction, but they are using this open Quasm to actually do this particular compatibility across the framework. So which is a good initiative for especially for the people who are actually targeting that how this particular compatibility will work across a platform. So this is something a very good initiative. I thought like discussing about same. I think somebody who can actually also, if it is of interest, I think they can join that. There's a GitHub links I'll actually share, so they can actually go through that also, like what is actually happening and what they're actually doing in this particular field.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you for that. Andrew, I've seen you've mentioned the quantum future sessions. You may have mentioned these at the beginning when everyone was doing intros and I was late. But if not, do you want to just speak briefly about those?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Yeah, and I was a bit late, and that because of family commitments as well, so I missed the beginning. Paolo, thanks. Yeah, it was good to have a number of the London Quantum people involved in a quantum future session that we ran back in July. And the focus of that was on what quantum businesses now are getting to needing significant investment, and particularly corporate investing. So the likes of Merck, BASF, telecoms businesses. So we ran that session. We had 3 on the panel, which included Ilana Wisby, and Merck's investment fund and Kai Bongs from quantum sensing. But the bit that people really appreciated was the breakout sessions as well. And we've now, that link I've sent, we've got the panel session recorded and also the short feedback sessions that were done as well. So you're welcome to go and have a look at those. And if anybody's interested in following up on some of those business or investment areas, feel free to reach out to me, because we're going to be running some follow-up sessions and that as well. Following on for your bit, Paolo, I got really excited because I followed up after that session and went and actually visited Ilana at Oxford Quantum Circuits and actually saw 30 people in a real quantum office and a quantum computer chandelier encased and all that. So actually being out and eating a sandwich and meeting somebody was really good as well. So not only being by a quantum computer. So.
Well, I mean, that's fantastic. It's funny you mentioned that in the context of Oxford, because I do know when we kicked off Quantum London in the summer of 2019, before anyone had invented COVID, and we were planning as part of what we would do in the spring of 2020 was actually to move outside of London for some of the meetings. And obviously Oxford was the destination with the specific aim of getting close to real practitioners. So I'm very jealous that you've managed to do that.
Well, actually, Oxford Quantum Circuit is actually in Reading rather than Oxford. So
okay. Well, there we go.
It's just off the M4. So make sure you go to Reading Science Park to see Oxford Quantum Computing, not Oxford.
That would make sense. And then there'll be someone hopefully who can correct me then in the location of the UK's quantum computer, which I think that so not the one you mentioned, but the one I think being developed between the government and Rigetti is going to be somewhere near Oxford, is it? Just to
I think that's Harwell, is it? Is that
Harwell
National Quantum
Center?
Harwell. So that's probably about halfway between Oxford and Reading, because it's on the A34 south of Oxford. So
fantastic. So that's basically where we need to be, not over in East London where we've had our previous in-person meetings. We all need to be heading west out past Heathrow.
Yeah. So thanks for that.
Okay, well, thank you. And I think, Andrew, just it would be good to know clearly, one of the great things for the overall community is there are all these events going on. The challenge for us at Quantum London is making sure that we don't overly duplicate something that's just been done, very well somewhere else. So we've definitely got on our list of things to do is something on the investment side. So it'd be good, and maybe we can discuss this offline, but to understand sort of what would make that useful and complementary to what you've already done, rather than simply repeating that, given that it sounds like you've got a good recording of your session. Right, we're heading towards the top of the hour. What we normally do at this point is we talk you through the upcoming events we've got. In fact, as it turns out, just because of the way calendars are, is we don't have anything else specifically planned. We've got a whole lot that we're talking to speakers and trying to arrange dates for, and the old balance of online versus offline, etc. Anna M, do you want to share any of the sort of current high-level ideas we've got, or do you want to sort of keep those cards close to your chest?
One idea that we did have is to get a few people in who can speak to us about quantum computing jobs, because I know there's a lot of people here who are interested in moving into quantum computing. So we were perhaps thinking about getting a few representative companies to talk to us about how you apply the process, a little bit more detail about what kind of candidates they're looking for. So if that is of interest to anyone, please do let us know, or if there's anyone you specifically want to see.
Yeah, fantastic. That should be very interesting. So once we've got some more detail on that, we'll share it through the network. And then yes, if you either from a very personal point of view, you'll think, oh, that would be a dream company to go and work for, or if your sense is that there's particular companies which sound like they're very interested in this sphere, even if you personally aren't looking to join one of them at the moment, do let us know any suggestions. Sorry, go on, Anuj.
Yeah, I think Eureka is doing a wonderful job in that particular field. I think they are helping both, I think, the organizations as well as the aspirants to get in touch. I think Eureka is, I think it is a Spanish organization. I think Spanish setup, Eureka. Share the link. I think that they are already running. They already, I think, organized many workshops for this particular job fair for quantum computing, and many they invited all the organizations, whether it is Oxford Quantum Computing, CQC, AWS. I think all of them were there in those workshops. So Eureka, I think, is a good starting point.
Fantastic. It's incredible how much everything's developed in the last 24 months. It's so exciting. You'll be all sitting there in sort of 5 or 6 years time when this stuff has become totally mainstream, saying, I remember sitting on a slightly dodgy Zoom connection in late 2021 when this was all so new. Good. Anything from your side?
So no, just a couple of things. So the Stammtisch series, I don't think there's any in the meetup groups. We'll publish those soon. And also the other event we had in the pipeline is something around ethics in quantum. So that's another topic we would like to explore, and should become available soon.
I'm particularly interested in that ethics in quantum, because I happened over the summer to read a book with my son that was probably written about 15 years ago, where this quantum computer basically sort of tries to take over the world. And it was funny, clearly the author was confusing quantum computers and artificial intelligence. If you think 15 years back, both of them just seemed like distant future tech. But the whole sort of concept of ethics and technology is an absolutely massive one. I think generally for the world, for those of us who work in regulated industries, it's very important. And I think there's an awful lot of attention going on the ethics of data analysis and the ethics of AI. You know, I'd love to see how the right expert speakers bring together the concepts of ethics and quantum computing. So look forward to that one. Thank you.
What was the book called, Paolo?
The book was written by a chap called Clive Cussler. And it's one of these books, for the life of me, I can't remember the title. We read the whole series in the summer and they all blur into one, even though my son absolutely remembers every single detail. I'll share it around later for anyone who wants to read a good adventure book for the 12-year-old boys. Fantastic. Any final thoughts from people? In which case, I'll say thank you for joining. Thank you for the everything in the chat. I think this has been one of the most prolific chat sessions, and certainly, you know, as we, many of you will all be returning to the workplace in some way or other. We're all going to have to get used to this sort of new hybrid world of online, offline, etc. And certainly, you know, the idea that we can both be talking face to face on the screen, but also have some stuff in the chat which we'll share later. I think we can probably just do a copy paste of that entire chat and share with people in case you haven't managed to note all the points down. Look forward to seeing many of you in upcoming webinars. Hopefully some of you, once the coding community is re-energized, and in the Stammtisch in a month or so's time. So have a lovely evening for those of you in Europe, lovely afternoon for those in the US, and if anyone's crazy enough to have dialed in from India or Asia, then time for bed. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Good night.